This is a loaner Porsche, and it was made in the early 1900s and powered by a petrol engine that drove 4 electric motors. That meant that it was the first ever hybrid. However, if you ask somebody today to name a hybrid car, they probably wouldn't mention the loaner Porsche. Instead, their mind would go straight to this, the Toyota Prius. This is a truly disgusting vehicle. Every generation only got worse, and it has the unique ability to look increasingly more vile from every angle. It really is quite impressive how much I despised the Prius, especially when you consider that on paper it's quite a logical option. Take for example the original Prius. It came into the US market in the year 2000, and even back then, 20 years ago, it was able to do 48 miles to the gallon in the city and 45 miles to the gallon on the highway. All of this for an MSRP of under $20,000. Also consider that it's a Toyota, which meant it was pretty likely to outlast its owner, and with every generation, they only improved on the technology, they improved on the efficiency, but unfortunately, with the Prius, the aesthetics only worsened over time. Still, Toyota was able to sell over 6 million Priuses over the last 2 decades. Unfortunately, it was never really an option for me because one of the main criteria that I look for in a car is that when I do look at it with my eyes, I'm not immediately reintroduced to my lunch. And with the Prius, that wasn't really possible until now. This is the new Prius, the 5th generation, and there's no debate on this. It looks good. The front is angular, sharp, stylish, and the back with that continuous light bar looks like something RoboCop would drive, and we all want. The best part is that Toyota hasn't compromised on what makes the Prius a Prius. So let me give you the brochure bits, starting with the engine. All of the cars are going to have the same engine. It's a 2-liter, 4-cylinder hybrid engine with an 83 kilowatt-hour battery. Total power output is 194 horsepower if you get the front-wheel drive, but if you get this all-wheel drive, it's 196 brake horsepower. That's nearly a 40% power increase over the previous generation, which had to make do with just 121 horsepower. All cars are going to have the same electronically controlled CVT transmission, and the result of that is that you're going to get some very impressive improvements on your 0 to 60 time when compared to the previous generation Prius. 7.2 seconds for the front-wheel drive and just 7 seconds for the all-wheel drive. That's galaxies apart from what the last Prius could do, which was a 0 to 60 time of 10.8 seconds, which is, I mean, there's no way around it, there's no debate here, that's quite slow. Let's talk about efficiency. After all, this is a Prius. In its most efficient form, it'll do 57 miles to the gallon in the city and 56 miles to the gallon on the highway. Although there is a disclaimer, depending on what trim and powertrain you choose, if it's all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, that efficiency is going to vary. So I'll flash up a quick comparison chart for you to be able to digest the differences at your own pace. Let me talk you through the interior, because just like the exterior, interior is all redesigned, and it's a much welcomed redesign, because in the previous car, kind of like a Mini Cooper, everything was in the center, including your gauge cluster, and I was not a big fan of that. So with this new car, they've moved the gauge cluster back where it should be, front and center for the driver. As I'm playing around with it, I started to realize just how many safety features this car comes with, again, all as standard. You're gonna have your lane departure alert system, BSM, PCS, PDA, parking assist, RCTA, PKSB, safe exit assist, RSA, DRCC. I don't know what all of those are, but in post-production, I will include what those acronyms stand for so that you'll know what they are. That gauge cluster, by the way, is a 7-inch screen. It's wonderful. Your infotainment screen is gonna be an 8-inch as standard for your base car, and I believe your XLE as well, with the option to get the 12.3-inch screen, which comes standard for the limited trim. It's a great screen, it's very responsive, makes an audio feedback when you push on it, but wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, that's gonna come standard no matter what car you choose, what trim, and what screen, so that's great. On a practical level, you're gonna have everything that you need. Very pleased to say that all of the climate controls are physical buttons. You get a nice little LCD screen, and it all works perfectly and feels very long-lasting, as you would expect in a Toyota. This has a wireless charging pad. But this is a big thing for me because phones are not getting any smaller. And in a lot of cars, it's a pad. So you set the phone down, but it takes up a bit of cabin space in your car. So you have to choose between charging your phone or having Tic Tacs and gum or paper clips or miscellaneous things for you to lose in your car. What they've done with the Prius is quite clever. You actually slot your phone in sideways and it almost clips into place with these little prongs on the side. It's a more efficient way of charging your phone and it sacrifices less cargo space. Little gimmicky thing on this car. Actually, before I get into that, there's 2 USB-C ports in the front and 2 more in here, which is where the gimmicky thing comes into play. It says hashtag console box, which is kind of funny, lets you know that it's your console box, but there's other hashtags sprinkled throughout the interior. Hashtag wireless charger for your wireless charger. If you go into your glove box, it says hashtag glove box. And there's a little tab here, which if you push forward, it reveals a hidden compartment, which says hashtag hidden compartment. It's kind of a silly, cutesy little fun thing. The only real difference that you're going to get with the different trims are some of the niceties. So the materials for your seats, how many different ways your electronic seats can be adjusted, and the memory settings, maybe different roofing options, and I think you can get some JBL speakers as well. But as a whole, practically all of the stuff that you're going to be using on the day-to-day, it all comes standard. It always does with Toyota and Lexus, and that's really the way that I think that it should be. But for right now, let's go ahead and take this car out for a drive and see what it's like on the road. Here we are behind the wheel of the new Prius. And in terms of driving feedback, there's not going to be a whole lot for me to talk about. After all, this is a daily driver economy car, so it's not going to have any crazy driving dynamics. All it really needs to do is be well equipped with the technology that you need, be decently comfortable, and be very good on gas. This car does all of those things, and it does it really well. It just takes the being good on gas part to a whole new level. What do I mean by that? Well, this car has a fuel tank that is 11.3 gallons. That's the capacity. If you take into account the EPA estimated range per gallon that this car can take you, that gives you a total range of around 650 miles. Now that's a big number, and we all know that it's a big number, but what does that mean in the real world? Well, you can drive this from San Diego to Los Angeles, to Las Vegas, to the Grand Canyon, all in a single tank of gas. If that's not impressive, I don't know what is. That's crazy. The amount of distance that you can cover in this car with a single tank of gas is just ridiculous. And on the performance front, the original Prius had a 0 to 60 time of 13 seconds, something in that order. It was a very slow car. There's really no debating that. And unfortunately, over the generations, it hasn't really gotten all that much better until now. Having a 7-second 0 to 60 time, it's not a fast car. You're not going to be winning drag races, but at the same time, it's bearable, it's usable. In fact, it's very similar performance stats that you get from a Ford Fiesta ST, which is a hot hatchback. And with this car, you're going to get far superior efficiency in terms of miles per gallon. And since I used to have a Fiesta ST, I can guarantee you that this is going to be significantly more reliable and well built. In the past, you maybe didn't want people to know that you drove a Prius. You'd have to either park super far away in some dark back alley and walk to work, or if somebody found out that you had a Prius, you had to give some kind of an excuse. Either I have a really long drive and I need the efficiency, or it's all that I could afford, it was given to me, I lost a bet, whatever the situation may be. Now, you don't really have to give any excuses. Having a Prius is cool. This is a cool car. I actually really like it. The only thing is that if somebody does ask you and you do tell them that you have a Prius, you have to make the clarification that it's a 2023 or newer. For really the first time that I can think of, at least in my mind, it's okay to have a Prius.
The cost for all of this? The MSRP for the new Prius is going to range from $27,950 for the base model, front-wheel drive LE, up to a peak of $36,365 for an all-wheel drive limited.
So in summary, the new Prius is better looking. It's more powerful than it's ever been, and yet it's more efficient as well. It's better looking with an all-new interior with all of the niceties and accoutrements that you would want from a daily driver, as well as all of the safety sense and reliability that you would expect from a Toyota. So it's a win-win-win-win-win-win. And did I mention it's quite a lot better looking? This is quite refreshing for me because as a logical person, I've always thought the Prius should be on everybody's list. But I was very understanding of the fact that because of its aesthetic and because it was really rather slow, it may not have made sense for a lot of people. But now, those foibles are no more. So this car is going to be quite desirable. And I know that for a fact because it's been very difficult over the last several months to be able to get my hands on one of these to do a video for you guys. But that being the case, I want to say a huge thank you to Temecula Valley Lexus and Temecula Valley Toyota for loaning me their 2024 Toyota Prius XLE all-wheel drive to do a video for you guys. I will leave all of the regular links in the description below to both of their websites, all of their social media, as well as the links to this exact car, which is currently for sale as part of their used inventory. Other than that, please leave me a comment in the comment section down below with your thoughts on the new Prius. Is it cool now? If you actually already have one of these, give us some long-term feedback. What's the car been like? Because as you know, I only get a few hours with these cars, so your feedback is going to be quite valuable to the viewers. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed the video, but until the next one, stay safe and take care.